In this video, we're going to talk about the ESP LTD Arrow-1000. Two of them, actually. Unlike most of my reviews where I review one guitar from a specific line, I have two of these. One is brand new and one I've had for about a year. But before we go further, let's get the specs out of the way from the ESP website. These have a neck-through construction, 25.5-inch scale length, mahogany body, 3-piece maple neck, Macassar ebony fretboard, a fingerboard radius of 300 to 400 millimeters compound, which is roughly 12 to 16 inches. There's some change in there. I'm just rounding. The finishes are, you can get them in either Violet Andromeda or Satin Candy Apple Red. It has a 42 millimeter nut width. It's a locking nut. Extra thin U neck contour. 24 extra jumbo stainless steel frets. Black hardware. Standard strap buttons. Grover tuners. A Floyd Rose 1000 SE. And for electronics, we have a EMG 81 in the bridge and an EMG 85 in the neck. One toggle switch, one volume. The guitars come strung up with D'Addario XL 120s, 9 through 42. And if you want a case which is not included with these guitars, it's the V Alexi guitar form fit case from ESP. There are also some aftermarket cases like those made by Gator that will fit this guitar. Other than the finish color, these guitars have the same specs. There is another model available with a Floyd, but it has Fishman pickups and a quilted maple top. Both of these guitars were bought for specific reasons, and ironically both times I compared them to Jackson V's, namely the Rhodes and the King V, which I guess are the only Jackson V's out there. But between the horror stories I've heard about Jackson's quality control over the last couple years and the LTDs just having better specs, I went with the LTD both times. For an offset V shape, these are very comfortable to play, even for somebody that isn't big on playing in the classical position. The Floyd Rose 1000 SE is smooth as butter, and even with both of these guitars tuned low, it's stable and returns to pitch every time. I have the Violet Andromeda tuned to drop B with a set of Ernie Ball, not even slinky 12 to 56 gauge strings, and the Satin Candy Apple Red is tuned to A-sharp standard with heavy chord Dunlop 14 to 63 gauge strings. Both guitars intonated fine, and the red one needed very little in the way of adjustment other than lowering the action a hair. The extra thin U neck is tread friendly and very comfortable. It's actually one of my favorite necks. The frets are butter smooth with no sharp edges and no high frets causing any issues. The EMG pickups in these are what is to be expected of the EMG 81 and 85. The single volume control and toggle switch keeps things neat and clean, but there is extra room in the cavity, which gives you the option to add another volume or tone control for more adventurous modders. The weight can vary. The Violet Andromeda guitar I have is noticeably heavier than the Candy Apple Red. But looking at the sights, they can vary a little from under 7 pounds to a little over 8 pounds. If being in guitar groups has taught me anything, I know some people really inspect their guitars. So, for the sake of transparency, there are some minor imperfections in the finish. The Candy Apple Red one has some slight blemishes at the tip of the headstock, and where the binding meets the finish on the headstock. Some thin finish in the corners where the fretboard sits over the body. And as far as the Violet Andromeda, it has some slight runs that aren't noticeable at a glance but show up under scrutiny. Not deal breakers and doesn't affect playability, but given what I've seen some people return guitars for, this could be a problem for pickier buyers. On a personal note, I'm not a huge fan of the EMG 85, mainly because I think the 60 or the Hetfield neck pickup just mops the floor with the 85 when it comes to clean tones, but for distorted tones I don't mind it. It's just not my preference. Also worth noting that as of filming this video, the Satin Candy Apple Red model is $1,199 US, but the Violet Andromeda is $1,399 US. So there's a $200 premium for the Violet Andromeda color. Overall, the ESP LTD Arrow-1000 is a solid guitar, and the specs for the price, while higher than other offset Vs, is hard to beat. For me, when comparing to the Jackson guitars that I did, the fact that these guitars had DMG pickups, the Macassar ebony fretboard, stainless steel frets, the Floyd Rose 1000, it was just worth the extra money over the Jackson brand pickups, a Floyd Rose Special, and an Indian Laurel fretboard. I don't have a problem with Indian Laurel per se, but they just don't look good on the Jacksons that I was looking at. So while these had more upfront costs, there was less work on my end because I didn't have to change the pickups, dye the fretboard. Um, Floyd Rose Special is kind of notorious for being a pain in the ass, so it seemed like a no-brainer because I didn't want to have to upgrade that either. If you're in the market for a clean layout offset V that is spec'd for metal, the ESP LTD Arrow-1000 just might be the guitar for you. Check one out. I think they're great. You might too. Like always, guys, I want to thank you for watching, and if you could rate, comment, and subscribe, that greatly helps me out. Also, while you're down there, leave a comment if you have one of these, and if you do you like it, do you not like it, or are you kind of lukewarm on it? I'm curious what other people's opinions are on the guitars that I review. Again, thank you for taking the time to watch, and we'll see you in the next one.